Someone in Trouble. Chapter 12. Victory Dance. The days had become so busy for Robbie that it took him a while to realize something. His time was filled with monitoring the town for signs of trouble, stepping in and saving anyone, or just hanging out with the kids in all the various ways they'd started to get together. He'd never had a social calendar before, and never one so full. It occurred to Robbie without any real provocation one day, in between pulling Ziggy's head out of a trash can and going to meet some of the other kids in the park to fly kites. He'd stuck his finger in his mouth and held it up, glancing towards the sky as he felt for the wind conditions, when he saw it. That darker blue speck way up there among the clouds, easy to overlook, but he just happened to notice it that time. Sportacus's airship. And Robbie thought idly to himself, not really thinking that hard. Say, when was the last time he'd seen old Sportaloon running and flipping around town anyway? That was when it hit him. He hadn't seen Sportacus in days, maybe even weeks. The appearance of the blue elf had already been cut down substantially when Robbie took over the trouble-saving work. Now, too, the more time the kids spent doing things with Robbie, the less time they spent with Sportacus. They didn't need Sportacus to save them, and there was no opportunity even to play with him if they were playing with Robbie. With Sportacus out of sight up in the Zeppelin, he was out of mind. He was as good as gone from LazyTown. Robbie stood in the middle of the lane, stunned by this epiphany. His plan had worked. For the first time in a long time, Robbie let out a maniacal laugh. He was so pleased with himself, he couldn't help but to do a little jig right there on the spot, tapping his shoes and pumping his arms in absolute self-congratulatory fashion. He was so caught up in patting himself on the back that he didn't notice Stephanie and Trixie coming up behind him. "What's going on, Robbie? Got some ants in your pants?" Trixie called playfully. Robbie immediately spun around to face them and went stiff and straight as a board. He cleared his throat of the last dregs of his cackling and tried not to let his embarrassment at being caught show. "Of course not," Robbie said. "I was just dancing. No, I wasn't." He immediately regretted speaking even one honest word, as Stephanie's face lit up, her interest piqued. "Wow, I didn't know you ever danced for anything. What's the occasion?" The question reminded Robbie all over again, and he smiled before he could help himself. He shook his head quickly to try to dislodge the betraying look, but to no avail. "Never mind that. I just remembered a funny joke is all." He chuckled again. "A really good one." "Really?" "Really?" Trixie liked a good joke as much as the next person. "How does it go?" "Maybe I'll tell you sometime," Robbie drawled. "Right now, though, I think you should go fly a kite." He glanced up at the skies again, seeing only clear blue over the park. "Let's all go."